What happens when Hollywood's most laid-back star completely loses his cool on live television? When Jason Momoa, the man who made Aquaman a household name, found himself in the middle of a heated argument so intense that security had to escort him off the Kelly Clarkson show. This isn't just another celebrity meltdown, it's the story of how a simple interview question sparked a confrontation that left viewers speechless and the entertainment world buzzing for weeks. The Kelly Clarkson show was running like clockwork that afternoon. Kelly, dressed in a vibrant purple blazer, was in her element, chatting with the audience during the commercial break. Her infectious energy filled the studio as she prepared for her next guest. Jason Momoa had been making the rounds promoting his latest project, and his appearance on Kelly's show was supposed to be just another friendly stop on the publicity tour. The floor director signaled, and as the cameras rolled, Kelly's smile beamed across the studio. "Welcome back to the Kelly Clarkson Show. I'm here with the incredibly talented Jason Momoa. Jason, thank you so much for being here today." Momoa, sporting his signature long hair and a casual black t-shirt, leaned back in his chair with that familiar, easygoing grin. "Thanks for having me, Kelly. Always a pleasure." "So, let's talk about your latest project," Kelly began, her voice carrying the warm, conversational tone that made her show so popular. "You've been branching out into some really interesting territory lately. But I have to ask, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, there's been some talk in the industry about your approach to certain roles." Momoa's expression shifted slightly, his eyebrows raising with curiosity. "What kind of talk?" Kelly glanced down at her notes, then back up with a professional smile. "Well, some critics have suggested that you tend to rely heavily on your physical presence, rather than diving deep into the emotional complexity of your characters. I mean, you're obviously incredibly charismatic and you have this amazing screen presence, but do you ever feel like you're being typecast?" The question hung in the air. Momoa's relaxed posture stiffened slightly, and a flicker of annoyance crossed his features. "I'm sorry. What exactly are you trying to say here?" His voice was calm but carried a sharp edge. Sensing the shift in energy, Kelly tried to soften her tone. "I'm not trying to say anything negative, Jason. I'm just curious about your perspective on how you choose your roles, and whether you feel like the industry sometimes limits actors based on their physical appearance. So, you're asking if I think I'm just a pretty face who can't act?" Momoa replied, his tone still measured but clearly tense. "No, that's not what I'm saying at all," Kelly insisted quickly, her media training kicking in. "I think you're incredibly talented. I was just asking about the challenges that come with being known for action roles." Momoa leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "Kelly, I've been acting for over 2 decades. I've done everything from television dramas to independent films to major blockbusters. I've worked with some of the most respected directors in the industry. So when you sit here and suggest that I'm coasting on my looks, that's not just insulting to me. It's insulting to every director who's cast me, every writer who's written for me, and every actor I've worked alongside." The studio audience fell silent. The comfortable atmosphere evaporated. Kelly's smile faltered as she realized the interview was taking a turn she hadn't anticipated. "Jason, I really didn't mean to imply that you're not a skilled actor," she said, her voice more defensive now. "I was just trying to have a conversation about the industry and how actors navigate their careers." "Navigate my career?" Momoa's voice rose slightly. "You want to talk about navigating careers? Let's talk about how talk show hosts think they can psychoanalyze their guests on live television instead of just promoting their projects like they're supposed to." The tension in the room was palpable. Camera operators exchanged uneasy glances while producers in the background gestured frantically. Kelly's face flushed as she tried to regain control. "Jason, I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to do here. This is a conversation, not an attack on your abilities." "A conversation?" Momoa's laugh was sharp and humorless. "You call questioning my acting credentials a conversation? You know what, Kelly? Maybe we should have a real conversation. Let's talk about how you built your career on a singing competition, and then decided that qualified you to critique other people's artistic choices." The audience gasped. Kelly's eyes widened in shock and anger. Excuse me? I've worked incredibly hard to build this show and my career. I don't appreciate you attacking my qualifications. And I don't appreciate you attacking mine, Momoa shot back, his calm demeanor gone. You want to talk about relying on one thing? You've been riding that American Idol wave for 20 years. At least I've expanded beyond my starting point. Kelly's composure cracked. That's completely unfair, and you know it. I've had a successful music career. I've done television. I've built this show from the ground up. I work incredibly hard every single day. So do I, Momoa replied, his voice rising. But apparently that doesn't matter to you, because you've already made up your mind about what kind of actor I am. Based on what, my appearance? The fact that I'm a big guy who does action movies? I never said anything about your appearance, Kelly protested, though her voice wavered. You didn't have to say it directly, Momoa countered. It's implied in every word of your question. You see me and you think, oh, here's the muscle guy who probably can't handle Shakespeare. Well, newsflash, Kelly, I've done Shakespeare. I've done classical theater. I've done indie films you've probably never even heard of because they don't fit your narrow view of what my career should look like. The show's producer stood just off camera, frantically signaling to cut, but both Kelly and Jason seemed oblivious, their argument now fully consuming the stage. The moment the interview turned personal, everything changed. Jason Momoa stood up from his chair, his imposing frame towering over the seated Kelly Clarkson. You questioned my talent on national television and you're calling my response a personal attack? You started this, Kelly. You want to play journalist and ask the tough questions, then you better be prepared for honest answers. Kelly also stood up, her much smaller frame dwarfed by Momoa's presence, but her voice remained steady. Sit down, Jason. You're being completely inappropriate. I'm being inappropriate? Momoa's voice boomed across the studio. You're the one who decided to ambush me with questions about my acting ability instead of just talking about my new project like every other professional host would do. I am a professional host, Kelly snapped back. And part of being professional is asking real questions, not just giving celebrities a platform to promote their projects without any substance. Substance? Momoa's eyes flashed with anger. You want substance? Let's talk about how you've built your entire brand on being the relatable, down-to-earth celebrity. But the moment someone challenges you, you show your true colors. The studio audience was completely silent now, watching the confrontation unfold like a car crash they couldn't look away from. A few audience members even raised their phones to record, despite the show's strict no-recording policy. Kelly's voice trembled slightly with anger. My true colors? At least I'm not the one having a complete meltdown on television because someone asked me about my career. Meltdown? Momoa laughed bitterly. This isn't a meltdown. Kelly, this is me standing up for myself and my work. Something you clearly wouldn't understand since you've spent your entire career being handled by publicists and managers. That's enough, Kelly said sharply, cutting through the tension. I think we need to take a commercial break. No, Momoa said firmly, stepping closer to her desk. We're not taking a break. You wanted to have this conversation, so let's have it. You want to question my professionalism? Let's talk about yours. Let's talk about how you've ambushed other guests with questions they weren't prepared for. Kelly's face flushed red with anger and embarrassment. I have never ambushed anyone. I ask thoughtful questions that my audience wants to hear answered. Thoughtful questions? Momoa's tone dripped with sarcasm. There was nothing thoughtful about what you just did. You took a cheap shot at my acting ability, and you're trying to dress it up as journalism. The tension in the studio had reached a breaking point. Security guards were moving closer to the stage, and the show's director was frantically signaling to cut to commercial. But neither Kelly nor Jason seemed willing to stop. Kelly gripped the edge of her desk, her knuckles white. You know what, Jason? Maybe this is exactly why some people question your range as an actor. Because right now, you're showing everyone exactly who you really are when the cameras are rolling and you can't hide behind a script. Momoa's jaw clenched, his hands balling into fists at his sides. And you're showing everyone what happens when a talk show host gets called out for being unprofessional. You can't handle it when someone doesn't just sit there and take your passive-aggressive questions. Passive-aggressive? Kelly's voice cracked with indignation. There was nothing passive about my question. I was direct and honest, which is more than I can say for your reaction. Direct and honest? Momoa stepped even closer. Fine, you want direct and honest? You're a mediocre interviewer who thinks asking controversial questions makes you a hard-hitting journalist. But all you're really doing is trying to create drama for ratings. The audience shifted uncomfortably, whispering among themselves. The energy in the room had gone from excitement to genuine concern. How dare you call me mediocre? Kelly snapped. I've interviewed hundreds of guests, and none of them have ever reacted like this. Maybe the problem isn't my interviewing skills. Maybe the problem is you. The problem is me? Momoa shouted. The problem is that you thought you could take a cheap shot at my career and I'd just smile for your cameras. Well, I'm not going to do that, Kelly. I'm not going to pretend this is okay. Then maybe you should leave, Kelly said coldly. Maybe I should, Momoa shot back, his voice icy. But I'm not going to let you have the last word. You want to question my professionalism? Let's talk about how professional it is to blindside your guests with questions designed to make them look bad. Two security guards had now positioned themselves at the edge of the stage, ready to intervene. The show's producer was desperately trying to get Kelly's attention, but she was too locked in to notice. Kelly pointed toward the exit. I think this interview is over, Jason. I'm asking you to leave. I'm not done talking, Momoa said defiantly. You started this conversation and I'm going to finish it. You want to know about my acting range? Here's some range for you. I can go from respectful guest to someone who won't tolerate your disrespect in about 30 seconds. Security! Kelly called out, her voice echoing through the studio. I need security up here now. The guards immediately moved toward the stage, but Momoa raised his hands. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm just defending myself against someone who thinks she can attack my career on national television. You're making a scene, Jason, Kelly said, her voice shaking. You're embarrassing yourself and everyone involved in this show. I'm embarrassing myself? Momoa laughed harshly. You're the one who turned what should have been a simple interview into an interrogation. You're the one who decided to question my abilities instead of just doing your job. The first security guard reached the stage. Sir, I'm going to need you to calm down and step back from the desk. Momoa turned to face him, his towering presence intimidating up close. I am perfectly calm. I'm just having a conversation with Kelly here about professional courtesy. Jason, please, Kelly said, her voice now pleading. Just leave. This has gone too far. It went too far the moment you decided to ambush me, Momoa replied, but he took a step back. You want me to leave? Fine, but everyone watching is going to see exactly what kind of host you really are. The second security guard joined his colleague, both standing between Momoa and Kelly. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. Momoa looked at the guards, then back at Kelly. His expression was a mix of anger and disappointment. This is how you want to handle this? You attack my career and then have me escorted out when I defend myself? You're the one who escalated this, Kelly said firmly, though her voice trembled. All I did was ask a question. All you did was try to humiliate me, Momoa shot back as one of the guards gently took his arm. But you know what, Kelly? The people watching this will see right through what you tried to do. As the guards escorted him toward the exit, Momoa turned back one last time. You want to know about professionalism? A real host would have apologized by now, but I guess that's not in your playbook. Kelly stood behind her desk, her chest rising and falling rapidly as she watched him leave. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, struggling to process what they had just witnessed. We'll be right back after this commercial break, Kelly managed to say into the camera, her voice barely steady. As the cameras stopped rolling and the studio lights dimmed, the weight of what had just happened began to sink in. What started as a simple question about typecasting had erupted into one of the most dramatic moments in daytime television history. So, there you have it. The explosive confrontation that had everyone talking. What do you think went too far first? Kelly's questioning or Jason's reaction? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more celebrity stories that reveal what really happens when the cameras are rolling and the gloves come off.